Well, President Trump was in rare form today talking to reporters.
Sir, if there's nothing incriminating in the file,
Quiet, Piggy. Listen, you got to hear both sides. To be fair, maybe she was one. I can't see what she looks like, but look on the bright side, Piggy. At least he didn't call you a Nazi. Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So there has been a lot of talk over the past week about being able to afford the American dream, which of course includes buying a home that you can then have your family live in. And there's a lot of, inner turmoil with President Trump talking about 50-year mortgage. And, how Gen Z is very upset that they can't afford a home. And I agree that is an issue that needs to be addressed. But there's one idea that is not getting, a lot of pickup. And the pickup that it's getting is very strange. And that is Ron DeSantis's plan in Florida. Governor DeSantis is considering eliminating property taxes in the state altogether, which would be for people who live in that home. So it would not include investment properties. Here's Ron DeSantis on that.
Your personal home, you shouldn't rent it from the government. You should own it. And, you're paying taxes for 50 years, but even for young families, it's become very difficult across this country to make ends meet. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to have home ownership without having the burden of property tax then?
This seems like a very standard conservative position. It's it's not like controversial to say you should not have to pay rent to the government. You should not have to buy a home and then spend 20, 30, 50 years paying off that home, and yet you still never truly own your home because you would still pay rent to the government. Like, that should not be controversial in the year 2025. And somehow there's this weird internet conversation happening that feels a little inauthentic. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no proof that this is a paid campaign in support of property taxes, like pro-taxes for the conservative position. But it feels very inauthentic and weird, like someone's getting paid to talk about how property taxes are so great. And so I just wanted to go through this with you guys, and you guys let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Hit the bell and gently tap or smash the like button and let us know that you enjoy watching Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So there's this guy. I'm trying to be totally fair. I'm not trying to slam him. He actually has more followers than me on X. I don't know who he is. But he has a Star Wars name that I'm not going to try to pronounce. And he's like, you're a boomer simp if you're pro abolishing property taxes. He said the median home buyer in Florida is 60 years old. Ending property tax massively benefits them, keeps them in housing stock that should turn over to the young, and gets them out of paying for public services for children. If you're anti-property tax, you're a boomer simp. Like, what? So this guy, there's a lot to unpack there. Okay, so you're basically saying because the median home buyer in Florida is 60 years old, we should, kick all the old people, kick all the oldies out of the homes that they've paid for so that young people can buy them up? I'm sorry, are we conservatives or are we not? Now, also recognize that the guy who wrote that doesn't live in Florida. He lives in DC. So, doesn't even know what it's like to live in a place that cares about freedom and liberty. But also his math is not mathing, which Ron DeSantis kind of spelled out for him. He said a senior who has owned a home for 30 years pays much lower property taxes than a young family who purchased a comparable home, say in 2022, because of the tax basis of the former is much lower than the tax basis of the latter. A full exemption for homestead would provide a larger dollar amount to the young family, plus that savings could be compounded for decades. Now, here's another tweet. I suspect this will be quite bad for Florida. Notice the emojis. in this person's bio? Okay. I suspect this will be quite bad for Florida. Property taxes account for 38.1% of Florida's tax revenue, and the state already has no income tax. Property taxes are very efficient, and they incentivize economically beneficial behavior. So, you guys in conservative world who are all like pro-property, you're pro-tax all of a sudden, just recognize that you are siding with the people who have the LGBT flags in their bio. You guys are on the same side, okay? You're also on the same side of the commies, as I saw in my mentions when I gave my response, which I will read to you momentarily. But property taxes, it's not just a Floridian problem. It is a problem across the countries. I want to show you there's the top 5 worst culprits of increasing property taxes each year. You know, it's so interesting. It doesn't generally get lower. Okay, Georgia saw a 15% increase between 2023 to 2024. Texas was not far behind. This is property tax increases based on a $360,000 home, which is the median cost of a home in the United States. And so just because I live in Texas, okay, let's just take Texas as like an example. This would be the same $360,000 house. You're paying nearly $5,000 a year on property taxes. Before the increase, it was $400 less than that. And again, it doesn't generally go down. It just keeps going up. Now, another argument against getting rid of property taxes is like, what about the schools? Who's going to fund the schools? I mean, that's always the same. It's like really weird when you talk to conservatives who are very anti-tax, anti-government, communism, anti-socialism. And then all of a sudden you get the greater good explanation. And it's like, okay. So like, who's going to fund the police? Who's going to fund the schools? Who's going to fund, oh my God, whatever will I do if I can't call the city that I live in and complain to them, because so much happens when you call the city. The city's so easy to work with and so efficient, right? The county is so easy to work with and so efficient, right? So let's talk about the schools, okay? And let's talk about the fact that you don't have to be a boomer simp to have a problem with property taxes. I live in Texas. I'm not a boomer. I have 2 school-aged children. Stephen, how much are we going to pay this year in property taxes just to own our home in Texas?
I don't like $10,000.
$10,000. Okay. Once our home is totally paid off, we've already paid for our home in full. You're still going to pay that $10,000 that's just going to go up every year to the local government just to own your home and the land that you have already paid for. That is communism. Okay. Plus, if you pay, more improvements, you improve your home, they penalize you for that. They punish you for that because then they can assess your value more. So then you're trying to benefit your community. You're trying to make sure that your home, you only increase the value on your home, and then they penalize you for that by charging you more. So you're paying double again. Plus, on top of that, the bulk of the money goes to the school district, which you're probably, if you're conservative, you're not going to want to use because they're indoctrinating your children into being gay and retarded Marxists. And they're using your taxpayer money to do it. Okay? So, like, I don't understand what is happening here. Why there is this weird conversation where these Zoomers, these Gen Zers are like, actually, we should just kick all the old people out of their homes. This is what I'm hearing. Actually, they have the most wealth, so they should be paying more. Guys, where do you hear the tax the rich argument? Where do you hear the tax the rich argument?
I feel like we heard it in New York a whole lot before they elected a communist mayor.
You know who agrees with the tax the rich argument? AOC. Like, it's the far left that is continuing to push this tax the rich argument. And now I'm hearing from the conservative side, actually, we should just tax the old people more because they own most of the wealth. Tax the rich. This is going to be a disaster if we can't explain how to actually conserve things, how to actually be true conservatives. That's going to be a terrible disaster. And I don't understand, guys. People are like, well, how are you going to fund things? Well, I don't know. How do you accept the premise of Doge on a federal level? How do you accept the premise that we have in big governments a ton of waste and fraud and abuse and corruption, and then pretend like local governments are immune to that? Pretend like there is no waste or fraud or abuse that could and should be cut. Like, I don't understand how that is not, how they're not getting that, and how they're not realizing that property taxes are just essentially a tax on unrealized gains. Like, they're basing what you are paying in property taxes. You have to pay the government what they assess your home's value is, but you haven't sold your home. So that's not actually money that you've gained. You've not brought that in from selling your home, but you still have to pay on the value, which is, again, what I'm saying. It goes up. You do something to your home to make it more valuable, it goes up. You've got to pay it on the back end to pay the government for improving your home. So the argument that this is like antithetical to freedom and liberty isn't hard to make. I don't understand why the claim is that this only helps boomers. Like, that's kind of retarded if you consider, like, hey, if you're young and you ever want to own a home, the boomers are eventually going to die because everyone does. And then can you afford that home and the astronomical property tax every year? Take this into consideration. Let's talk about generational wealth. Say you have parents who have to, they are the boomers that apparently you hate because they've done very well for themselves. They're the boomers that apparently you hate because they've worked really hard, which I personally don't mind at all because they've earned their own wealth. And like, I don't fault them for that because I'm not anti-capitalism. Okay. But say you have parents who are wealthy because they've worked hard and they own a lot of land. Okay. They own a ton of land and they own a beautiful home that they care to pass to you, that they would like to give to you when they die. Consider you will not even be able to keep your parents' property or home with the astronomical property taxes that you will owe at the end of every year on land and a home that they already paid for. Like, I don't understand what we're doing here. But arguing against changing property taxes, reforming property taxes, I personally would love the abolition of property taxes because I think that it is completely antithetical to freedom. But at the very least, can we talk about reforming it rather than being called a boomer simp? I know a lot of young people who own homes who this is like actually a very big problem for them. I was getting people when I gave my response, I was getting people in the comments like, well, it just goes to you're too wealthy. You have the same mentality as a boomer because you're wealthy. It's like, okay, first of all, I don't know, is the conservative argument now we should be punishing people who are wealthy? I don't own a mansion. I can promise you it's like a very regular suburban home. And I'm still paying that much in property taxes. It's unsustainable, guys. And if you're young and you ever want to own a home, you should recognize that this is a problem for everyone. So let's solve the problem for everyone. And you don't need to be jealous that maybe boomers also get, like, they get to benefit from solving the problem. This is a very weird dynamic. We should not be tax the rich. All right. And in closing, I would like to just remind you, my friend Eric July, really, he's quite eloquent at times, and I think he summed it up best.
Walter Block has a long form write-up of the privatization of roads and highways. This is level one shit. Just because maybe you can't figure it out, which is okay. This is why we're for free markets. Just because you can't figure out how minus taxation, people would say, damn, I need to get over there. What if we built a goddamn flat space? If you think people can't figure that shit out, or you can't figure out how people would do that, so you. That's okay. This is why we're free markets. Let the smart people kind of figure that shit out and allocate those resources. But I promise you, homies, you not fooling now libertarian by bringing up them bitch-ass roads. Them hoe-ass roads, man.
Them hoe-ass roads. I don't need the government to build my damn roads. I think we can figure it out. I think we can use private companies to figure that out. Okay? Government, like, how often, there are places, I thought I was going to close. I'm not, because do you know what? There are places where I live, I know there are places where you live, where the roads have been under construction for like 10 years. Do you know why? Because they have money to, and they're like, I don't know, we'll just pay for more construction on the roads. Like, they don't actually intend on solving your problem with the roads or the schools or anything else. It's just a money suck. They see you as a serf. And you just have to pay them. You funnel them your money and they'll just use it on whatever they feel like, whatever pet project they feel like. And they know that they're going to get more of your money every single year. So they just keep spending it. They have no incentive to not, because they know that you have to pay it or else they can punish you. It's just so stupid. What about the schools? What about the roads? What about the police? What about, guys, we don't need the government to solve our problems. They're the ones, oftentimes, who are causing the problems. Please, enough with this tax the rich bullshit. I'm sorry to my producers for all the bleeps that you're going to have to ask. I'm sorry to the editors. I apologize to you guys, but I do not apologize for the people who are promoting this pro-property tax bullshit. Okay, that was the last one. All right. Please, let's thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So many people are living with pain every day. They just think that's their life now, but it doesn't have to be. I have used Relief Factor. It's worked for so many people in the building. And what they do is very simple. It's developed by doctors who were tired of giving their patients drugs that were making them loopy. And like, you can't operate heavy machinery. You can't drive. You can't drink. It's like, that's serious when you take the drug. Okay? Don't do that. Try Relief Factor. It's an all-natural anti-inflammatory. It just gets to the root cause of your pain, which is typically the inflammation. And so go try their 3-week quick start pack. If you are in pain, it can be life-changing for you. Go to relieffactor.com. Get that 3-week quick start over at relieffactor.com. Obviously, one of the first and most important things President Trump did when he got back into office was to take action to protect children in this country. In February, he signed an executive order to ban men from women's sports, which is something that I don't think anyone could have predicted we would have needed to ban. But here we are. And despite the good work that many states have done to stop the indoctrination of children, brainwashing them into thinking they can somehow change their genders, there are a lot of rogue operators out there who are still fueling all of this. In 2024, Ohio passed a law banning males from competing in girl sports too. So we've got all of these state laws already preventing this, but Accuracy in Media carried out an undercover operation which shows that the law isn't actually being enforced.
We, as a school, are very open, but I will say that the larger community, there is still some, it's a small rural community. Whenever you get rural, you get pushback sometimes.
For sure.
But we are here to protect. Pronouns here, him or her?
Her.
Ohio just passed a bunch of laws with the current administration. I'm very left-leaning, I'll just put it right out there. And so this has been a struggle for me, but with the Trump administration and some Ohio's a Republican state, there have been some recent laws in OHSAA, which is our governing athletic body, so I do need to look into them.
Yeah.
Because previously, before they just changed some of these laws, we've had transgender students participate on the boys' track team.
Oh, wow,
or
okay.
the girls or vice versa. Like not their biological gender.
Amazing, okay.
But I'm very concerned. And it depends, I think, on the sport.
So I do have an adopted birth certificate for my sister. She passes for a young lady. So we have that adopted birth certificate is where we can just...
I wonder if we just don't even tell anybody.
I'm fine with not telling anybody.
Again, yeah.
Joining me now to discuss this mess is Adam Guillette. He is the president of Accuracy in Media, who obviously did that undercover investigation. And I want to talk to you about that specific one, but I just want to point out this is not a one-off. You guys have gone undercover in, more than 250 schools. How widespread is what's happening right there? How widespread is that issue?
I would say it's gosh darn everywhere. You know, we've been undercover in Texas, in districts throughout the state. The exact same thing was occurring. This is a part of our investigations in Ohio. I think it's part 7. Both of them red states. If that's what's happening in presumably conservative Republican states, you know, what's happening in Illinois, Rhode Island, California, or even the purple states? Right. These radicals put their agenda ahead of the safety of girls every time. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess how do we create laws that are actually enforced? Like, how do these laws have teeth? Who is responsible for all of this? I mean, what can we do to make sure that these laws are actually being followed? Because obviously these Marxists in these schools don't intend to follow them.
No, they think they're above the law. The law, I guess, matters to us, not for them.
Right.
You know, when we released these investigations in Texas, people lost their jobs. And to his credit, your attorney general here in Texas sued multiple districts. He investigated multiple districts. Yep. They didn't yet strengthen the law, however. And in Ohio, even worse, they haven't fired anybody. The attorney general sent maybe one letter. And it says to me that perhaps these politicians care more about virtue signaling to their base than they care about actually solving problems, because these laws generally have no teeth. So they're worse than worthless because they accomplish nothing and provide a false sense of security.
And so that kind of, that does highlight the importance of one's attorney general in the state, right? I mean, because you're saying if it's up to the attorney general to investigate and actually do something about it, put some pressure on the schools, get people fired, that would be the key.
Well, I'd love to see attorney generals get involved in every state where this occurs, which I think is all 50. In addition, I'd love to see elected officials pass stronger laws with a reporting mechanism, with actual consequences for the individuals in the school districts that break the law. If you are caught circumventing state law, you should never, ever again be collecting a paycheck from the taxpayers. We, the taxpayers, shouldn't have to fund these radicals.
Yeah. And so it's not just turning a blind eye. You've also found others who are like actively coaching parents how to get around these bans. And I want to, I want to share a clip of how much these people have lost the plot on this topic in particular.
My 2-year-old son came up to me the other day. I went back home to the UK, and he said, "Daddy, I'm going to have a baby." And I said, "Zach, you can't have a baby because you're a boy. You're a man. You can't have babies." And he said, "Well, I'm going to be a girl. I want to be a girl." What would you have said to him if you were me?
Well, I wouldn't have said, "Zach, you're a boy and boys can't have babies," because that's absolutely not true. So, I mean, I don't know what your parenting is like.
And you don't think think boys can have babies?
You mean males?
Yes.
Yes.
You think males can have babies?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, do you want me to explain?
Yes,
this is a doctor.
So transgender males.
This is a doctor.
Have a womb, a uterus, and ovaries.
In the UK.
Okay, so they were born, if you like, female, but they actually identify as males. So we refer to them as males. They have ovaries, a womb, a uterus, a vagina, and that means you can carry a baby.
Transgender males being women.
Well, that's extremely disrespectful to transgender males.
Well, they are women, aren't they? They're biological women.
They are males.
So instead of telling my 2-year-old son, as I did, "Zach, you can't have kids, you're a boy."
I think that's sad.
It's not even just the teachers. It's like all of these institutions that have completely lost their minds, I guess.
Quite consistently, these radicals seize the institutions and they use them to focus on their ideology rather than their actual task, educating children. And the real danger is parents don't think this could happen in their school district. They tell me, "I met with the principal, I met with the superintendent. They seem like swell people." I meet with the same folks, and they brag to me about how they lie to you. They may have your child's best interest at heart, but what they view as in the best interest of your child is dramatically different from what the parents would think is in their child's best interest.
And when they are, I mean, I would categorize these people as Marxists and communists. Would you?
Quite consistently.
Okay, so when they do have these ideological views, they do very much view your children as theirs.
Unquestionably, they have a community view. And, having been undercover in so many of these districts on my own, it was shocking to learn these people mean well. These are not one-dimensional villains.
Right.
And I think we see so much of it in the red states because they feel like they're on an evangelical mission doing God's work if they believed in God. They think they owe it to your children to do these things. And in some ways, that's more dangerous because it causes them to be so determined to ignore laws, lie to you, deceive you, circumvent laws. They will not be stopped.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing to point out. As you mentioned, the red states, this is happening, and it's all intentional. I did a lot of work, my organization, Texas Family Project, we did a lot of work on exposing all of the drag shows for kids that were happening across the state. And it's like, it's happening, sure, in like downtown Dallas, where you may think, okay, they're already too far gone, but it's happening in the places where you would not expect, the suburban areas, the very heavily red, counties, where you wouldn't think that they would tolerate this. Lubbock. I mean, these places where you don't think that that's happening, and they do that intentionally to bring that ideology to those places for your kids, and they think that they're doing your kids a service.
Even right here, I've been in Capel ISD, Irving ISD, all of these areas that you wouldn't think of, like Austin. You wouldn't expect them to be Austin. Districts in Fort Worth, we see this stuff happening. I was in a district in rural Tennessee, middle of nowhere, a 3-1 Trump-Biden county, and I had an administrator brag to me about how progressive their curriculum is from an equity point of view.
Wow.
You think the parents there want that? My gosh.
Right. Exactly right. So tell me really quick, before I let you go, you are exposing a lot of issues like DEI bans not being enforced as well. It's not just the trans ideology, it's also the DEI bans. So is that happening in Texas too?
Unquestionably. Yeah. We've been in plenty of universities across the state of Texas, public and private, and consistently they brag to us about how they circumvent the DEI bans. Largely, they just change their job titles. We're in the wrong business. We should be in the business card industry because these people, some of them, are changing job titles twice in 1 year just to circumvent the ban and draw no suspicion to the radical work that they're doing. Wow. They've turned these universities into activist organizations that run a med school on the side.
Yeah. Don't I know it? I was just at my alma mater, Texas State University, and I was like, man, it's really a shame to see what they've turned these. They're now just indoctrination factories. It feels like. We
used to bemoan the leftist faculty, and not to worry, they're still there. But in the past decade or so, they've created 20 administrative positions for every one faculty position. And these are your DEI jobs, your LGBTQ jobs. These aren't, secretaries. Right. They're activists. You go into their offices and you would think you're in a left-wing activist organization. So even if these university presidents wanted to right the ship, well, they're up against the left-wing faculty. They're up against the even larger far-left administrative staff. These institutions are entirely corrupted, and I'm not sure they can be saved.
Interesting. So what do we do?
Well, first of all, if I'm a taxpayer, I don't want to be funding these places anymore.
Amen. I was just talking about that. I was just talking about it. I said, why are my property taxes going to fund these schools that are just churning out gay Marxists?
Exactly.
Why? I don't want my money to go to that. Maybe.
To be clear, I don't like the straight Marxists either.
Oh, fair. Okay. That's fair. I hate all Marxists. I dislike all Marxists equally, but you understand my point, right? It's just like they're teaching them LGBTQ ideology. They're teaching them communism is great. And at the end of the day, I'm funding it. And it just feels really wrong. So it's good to hear someone else echo that.
It's morally outrageous. And I live in Florida, another red state.
Yes.
The way that we have this happening in red states is unconscionable. Yeah. So yes, certainly we should be reforming higher ed if it's going to even exist in its current role, but I would radically reshape it. There's no reason we should be paying for whole massive armies of activists at public universities in red states. Wipe out these departments entirely and focus exclusively on academics, which I know is a crazy idea.
Yeah. Wait, you think the schools should be doing that? You're crazy. Okay, tell everyone where they can find out more about accuracy in media and get involved.
Sure, our website is aim.org, AIM.org. We have more investigations coming out this week. And whenever we do an investigation, we set up a landing page where you could send one message that goes directly to the private email addresses of the trustees of these universities, which is, I think, how we've gotten about a half a dozen university presidents fired in the past year or so.
Oh, that is so smart. I love that. AIM.org?
AIM.org, yes.
premium.org. Thank you so much, Adam, for all the great work.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Come back soon. All right. All right. We got to take a break. But before we do that, I do want to thank our sponsor, Craftco. And we have our Manna White here who is going to come show you. I mean, it's just like, I know we have a picture of it, but I just want to, it's a beautiful bottle and it's beautiful bourbon. And on top of that, you just want to know, does it taste good? Well, not only does it taste great, but it also is American made. So this is made from American grown grains. This is as American as you can get. And what Flying Ace is going to do is they're going to help you out for the holidays. If you've got family gatherings and you're like, it's difficult dealing with Uncle Ted. Well, just stock up, okay? And not only are you going to have delicious bourbon, but you're also going to know that, here's this little folds of honor. They're also partnering with organizations that are helping to fund scholarships of families of America's fallen. So this is a truly American company. Go to flyingacespirits.com. Use promo code BLAZE for free shipping. That is flyingacespirits.com, promo code BLAZE. Welcome to the show. Our panel, we have Matthew Marsden, actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Blaze TV contributor. And we also have, joining us remotely, Auron MacIntyre. He is the host of the Auron MacIntyre Show on Blaze TV, which everyone needs to be watching. Thank you for joining us as well remotely, Auron.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I have a feeling you're going to have a few things to say about this next one here. Mamdani hasn't even been sworn in as New York City mayor yet. And, it's like, this is already all playing out exactly how we said that it would. He has already said that he won't comply with American laws that are on the books, right? Like he said, we're going to resist ICE agents coming into our city. So American laws, federal law doesn't apply to Mamdani. However, international law, he says, does apply.
You said you would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu based on the 2024 International Court Arrest Warrant. Next UN General Assembly, as mayor, would you do that?
So I've said time and again that I believe this is a city of international law, and being a city of international law means looking to uphold international law, and that means upholding the warrants from the International Criminal Court, whether they're for Benjamin Netanyahu or Vladimir Putin. I think that that's critically important to showcase our values, and unlike Donald Trump, I'm someone who looks to exist within the confines of the laws that we have. So I will look to exhaust every legal possibility, not to create my own laws to do so.
So the United States doesn't actually recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and he doesn't intend on following American laws, but he wants to follow international law. And I'm just saying it's coming from the Muslim commies, so I have to wonder at which point Sharia law is then implemented in New York City. Am I overblowing this, Auron?
No, not at all. I mean, this was entirely predictable, right? This guy, well, he's not an American. He's a paperwork American. He doesn't believe in anything that America stands for. He doesn't want to assimilate. He doesn't want to join our culture. He wants to make our culture something else. This is just a place for him and other people like him to come and make money, get benefits from the government. But this is not a homeland. This is not a country that they're joining, that they ultimately want to better. This is just a place for them to gather resources. And this is the big problem with mass immigration. Yes, he's an Islamist, and yes, he is a socialist, and both those things are evil. But ultimately, he's a third worldist. He's a guy who believes that the third world deserves to come to the United States and glean all the things that they want from it. They don't want to be part of the values. They don't want to be part of the future. They don't want to contribute. They want your stuff. It's just an invasion.
Yeah, you're right. Matt, to Auron's point, Mamdani is also making some pretty key endorsements over there in New York. This is Aberkawas, another Star Wars name for New York State Assembly seat. And she has some pretty interesting views, like how 9/11 was actually America's fault, apparently.
The system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory, and we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, like, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right? A lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for like a terror attack that like a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that
I didn't do a genocide, and I didn't participate in slavery, and I don't need to pay reparations for that. A few other points on this woman, Matt. She just moved to New York City last year after earning a master's degree in Islamic liberation theology from a university in South Africa. And according to some old Tumblr posts of hers, she described a convicted al-Qaeda financier as an imprisoned hero, and an Algerian man convicted of plotting to bomb New York City synagogues as her, quote, brother, who I'm not sure if she married or not. I can't keep up.
I have to be very careful because what she just said angers me so much.
You don't have to be careful on behalf of me.
Well, let me explain something to that woman. The lands that you actually came from were colonized by Islamists. The Turkish Empire, that was the Ottoman Empire, spread all the way through Iraq and Iran and all throughout the Middle East. They were all, for the most part, Christian countries at one point. The same thing with Northern Africa. I could go on and on and on. So, not only is she stupid, but she's wrong. But here's the thing that really angers me. This is our fault, actually, because we're letting them in. It's our fault. It's people not recognizing, and I've said, how many times have I said this on the show, is that we might not think that we're at war with certain people, but they're absolutely at war with us. And we've known for however long that the United States will be taken down from the inside. It's never going to be beaten militarily. It's never going to be invaded, but it's going to be taken in from the inside, taken down from the inside. And that's what's happening right here. What she said there was so despicable. But look, of course they're going to do it. They're emboldened. They can get away with it. There's no punishment. They never get held up on anything. I mean, I'm all for, we should get back to looking at the Un-American Activities Commission and saying, hang on a second, this is undermining our very country. We've got to go back and we've got to deal with these people. If they're saying stuff like that, they have to go.
Yeah, Auron, a republic, if you can keep it, comes to mind.
Absolutely. I don't understand at this point how we can even pretend that we should not have a Muslim ban, like a real one, for immigration. It's absolutely insane. You can't tell me that this is some kind of civilizational conflict and then import people into your civilization that ultimately want to dismantle it. We had this entire storyline about why we had to go to Iraq and Afghanistan. It was we had to fight them over there, so they don't come here. Now we just had something released saying that 48 mosques have popped up in Texas in the last 2 years. They are here. It's all happening, and there's a simple solution. We have to have the strength to tell people who hate our civilization, no, you can't come here. It's literally the most basic thing required for your country to continue existing.
Yeah, so somehow we have trained all of these immigrants to think that they are owed that somehow they're entitled to just come to our country because they want to. And it's like, I don't know. I consider the United States way more important than to just hand it over because they say that they want to come here. It should be much, much more strict, if not just completely cut off while we fix the problem, right? On to Auron's point really quick, Matt, and then we're going to have to go to break. Greg Abbott he posted a tweet. He's very good at tweets. Not great at action. He's very good at tweets. He just posted a tweet. He's like, today I determined that the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE are not going to buy up any homes or land in the state of Texas, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm sure that's good for all of the losers who just read your tweets and think that that's like policy. But the state of Texas is funding these mosques to the tune of $13+ million. And some of these mosques have ties to Muslim Brotherhood and CARE. So what are you actually doing, dude? You're inviting them in.
I had an epiphany about Greg Abbott the other day because there's no one that can really run against him and beat him. And so you have a king.
I mean, yeah.
You have a king in Texas, right? Like the Lone Star State has a king. And that guy does this every morning to see which way the wind's blowing so he can put out a press release, and that's it. It does absolutely nothing. He should abolish the property taxes. He needs to look at, I mean, why there are foreign nationals that own land around our bases is insane. Like, we should be able to just pass a law and say, no, you're done, you're out. You get pennies on the dollar, we'll give you something for it, but no way. I cannot tell you how disappointed I am coming from California, who has the worst, well, he's up there, right, with New York, but the worst governor in the country. And you come here and you're like, okay, Greg Abbott. And then you start peeling back and you're like, this guy is awful.
He's terrible. He's terrible. And the dirty little secret is most of the officials in Texas know that. They just can't say it because he's the one who controls all of the purse strings and the money, and they're afraid of being cut off of funding. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then we will be back with more. But I want to thank our sponsor, this segment, Beam. So I love Beam. If you need some help sleeping, if you have trouble sleeping, go check them out. Right now, they've got a cyber sale that's live for my listeners. It's their best offer of the year, but it's only for a very, very exclusive time, 48 hours. So you can get up to 50% off with my code, Sarah G. No, it's not Sarag. We're not in a Lord of the Rings novel. It's Sarah G. It looks like Sarag. You can grab Dream for just $32.50. That breaks down to only $1.08 per night for the best sleep of your life. It tastes delicious, guys. It's got great clean ingredients in there. I would not promote something that was not Maha friendly. So go to shopbeam.com/Sarah G. Use my code so you don't miss out. This is the lowest price they have ever been sold anywhere. They're likely going to sell out quickly. And they're an American company, by the way, founded by people who actually believe in hard work, clean products, and personal responsibility. It's packed with ingredients your body actually needs to sleep. Reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and even melatonin, but it's dosed intelligently, not like the drugstore garbage that knocks you out and leaves you groggy. Go to shopbeam.com/Sarah G, use code Sarah G, and get up to 50% off during Beam's cyber sale. In classic Trump form, on Air Force One earlier today, a reporter tried to keep, I think like President Trump was trying to answer a question from someone else, and there was this reporter that was just in his ear while he was trying to listen, and he was having none of it, I'll put it that way.
Sir, is there something incriminating in the file, sir? Why not acting as
He said, quiet piggy. No, or that, at least that's what it sounds like. Now, there are a couple different outlets that are reporting. This is what kind of the plot thickens. There are a couple different outlets that are reporting that this is Catherine Lucy, a White House correspondent for Bloomberg, who is not heavyset at all. So I don't know why he said that. But he went even harder on an ABC reporter at the White House who kept pressing him about Jeffrey Epstein.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. And ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong.
Auron, I always say one of the things that President Trump got so right that he got so much flack for was when he said that the mainstream media is the enemy of the people. And it's like all they've done since he has made that comment and blown it up and out of proportion is prove his point.
Yeah, I think all of us really enjoy watching President Trump abuse a journalist. We pretty much do it all day. It's one of the best things he ever does. And as a former journalist, someone who's recovering, trying to make amends, working my way through the steps, I can recognize the terrible nature of my former profession. That said, the Epstein question is one that is serious. I think a lot of his supporters would like to see the administration take it more seriously. And so another round of Trump beating up journalists for sure. More than happy to feast on that, but it is time for the administration to be serious about delivering on this. There's been too many questions around it. It's obviously dragging them down. It's time to push through and get this done.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I mean, to his credit, he now said, I cannot explain, Matt. I cannot explain it's a Democrat hoax. What are you talking about? What Epstein files? They don't exist. I cannot explain any of that other than it's very disappointing. But what I will say is, to his credit, he did just say, for whatever reason, very publicly, release all the files. So it sounds like we're going to get them.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and that'll. But again, I mean, we all know that even when he releases it, it's not.
They're never going to be happy with it. They're going to take something, they're going to misconstrue it, just like they did with the redaction that they quietly put up there, and they're like, "What are you talking about? We just like to protect victims." Like, no, you don't. Yeah,
and I think that's part of his point that, you know, there is a way that you're meant to respectfully ask questions. You can. I don't think anyone would actually kind of alienate a journalist for asking a tough question. It's just the manner in what you do it. I mean, he is the most powerful man in the world, so have a little bit of respect. And the way that they've treated him over the years has been abysmal. So I understand him tackling it like that. And maybe, by the way, the piggy comment maybe is like, you're being greedy.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably
like,
so.
Just stop being greedy because you keep going, no.
Yeah, you're being greedy. Okay, piggy, enough. We've got to ask someone else. Do you think that that's what that was, Auron?
I have no idea. Like you said, she didn't seem like a particularly heavy set woman.
Get into the mind of President Trump, would you? And just tell me exactly what he meant by that. I mean, to me, it makes it funnier because it's like you know that stung. I would probably cry if President Trump called me piggy. I'd be like, why are you calling me?
It's like when you have that small friend and you call him, giant, or you have that giant friend and you call him tiny, right?
Yeah.
It's like the inverse nickname thing.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But I do think, Auron, do you have any reason to suspect that they are not going to release all of these files?
Well, it's obviously a very complicated situation. I'm sure that there are reasons why you need to redact certain information. You want victims to be safe, that kind of thing. And I've got the feeling that there's some level of there, but ultimately I think a lot of people are worried that, as you said, once the files are out, it won't be enough, that people will want more. They'll want there to be a deeper conspiracy, these kind of things. And the truth is, ultimately, I'm sure the most salacious stuff from Jeffrey Epstein was never written down. I mean, sure, he probably doesn't just have like a specific client list with all the blackmail that you just get to spill out like it's some kind of Hollywood movie, right? Ultimately, these things are usually done off the books, quiet. The ability to keep them under wraps is the real draw for someone like Epstein. So I'm sure we're going to get a partial story out of the files, but we might not get the whole one that people want. The point is, just put it out there. Make it free and clear. Yes, people might not be ultimately happy about it, but at least you will have a true answer and you will be able to say, we did it.
We did it. Right. Exactly. But with a cautionary tale, because we already saw that Jeffrey Epstein said the weird thing about Thanksgiving that didn't actually end up being true. There was proof that President Trump was not with him. So it will be a cautionary tale. Hey, you know what? Maybe don't trust a convicted sex trafficker to tell you the truth about everything. That's all I'm saying. Auron, Matt, thank you guys so much. See y'all tomorrow.